What's going on, guys? Welcome back to your favorite construction channel. And like I always say, where we are all about bettering the African narrative. Okay, so 20 house designs of 2025, and this time, if you've been following, we've already done that. We broke down this video into two parts. So the first part had the top had the upper part of the 20, so that means it had from 20 up to 11, and today we are going to be counting down from 10 up to 1. Okay, so of course, like I mentioned before in the first part of this video, is that this video in particular, the arrangement of the houses is not necessarily from the best to the least best. Okay, this is really just a randomization of order, so don't say that because this one has come first it's better than the rest of them. Okay, so stay glued to your screen, and you might find something you might enjoy somewhere in the middle of the video. Okay, yes, to begin with, we are beginning with this very beautiful single bedroom apartment. Okay, this is something that we recently did, and it's going to be built in a place called Komamboga, that is just next to Chanja. So most of you, when you pass there in one of these days, you might find something coming up, which is exactly this that I'm showing you on the screen. Okay, so this is basically a one bedroom apartment. On this side we have the one bedroom apartments. On this side we also have one bedroom apartments, and in the middle is where we actually access. If I could just show you the different views, this is just a different view of the same apartment. Okay, whereas you see all these things coming up here and there, you know, the designs are altering here and there. Of course, it does not necessarily mean that the plan is different. Okay, the plans are typical from the ground all the way to up, with the exception of the apartments on the ground floor that don't have this balcony because of regulatory purposes. Like, you know, we always have to leave a minimum distance of 1.5 meters from the boundary wall, but when you go up above the ground floor, you can still extend your building to cover up for that space. Okay, of course, this was also not alone. On the opposite side of this very building, if I could just show you another angle, this right here is another block that this time has 3 units of single bedroom. As you can see, there's a single unit. This one is a single unit of 1 bedroom. There's another unit on this side, then there's another unit on this side, in such a manner. Of course, the designs are flowing in together with each other, but each apartment has been designed to look uniquely different from the other. Okay, so this, I think, is one of the best designs that we've handled in the last couple of months, and I believe you guys are enjoying it. Okay, like I've always said in this series, I have to mention my favorite spot. Okay, so if we go to the first page, my favorite spot is actually the terrace. The fact that tenants can come all the way to the terrace and have fun and do all their barbecue and have their parties and do stuff like that, I think it's really something amazing. It makes the living in the place more convenient and more comfortable for the people that are using the premises. Okay, we have this massive 10-bedroom house. I bet many of you have literally never seen a 10-bedroom house. Okay, so this is a 10-bedroom house that is to be constructed in Lira. Okay, the house has 10 bedrooms. If I could show you around, of course there is also this kind of aisle, that drive through, that you can drive through all the way to the back and park at the garage, that I'll show you in another render that reviews this very house from the back. Okay, this is the garage, this is the driveway that I showed you about when we were at the front, that cars can still drive through to the back of the house and still park at this under this garage. Okay, as you can see, this is quite a beautiful design. It has a mix of Mediterranean styles and all that, and this is really a massive house. Actually, all the 10 bedrooms are self-contained, and the house has actually 3 living rooms. Okay, this is quite a massive project, and I believe most of you must enjoy this. Okay, yeah, and also to mention, this very house has been done in a different style. Of course, you know, when design is happening, a lot of styles can be explored. Okay, so if I'm to open another style, it's literally the same house but now done in a different style. Okay, so if you can see, the floor plan is the same if you're able to connect the dots together, but the colors have changed, and the general look of the exterior has actually been adjusted. You guys can let me know in the comment section which one works best for you, which one you think came out really so well. Okay, yeah, and of course, like I always say in this series, I have to get you my favorite spot of the apartment. Now when you look, sorry, of the house. Now when you look right here, this is the bedroom that is isolated from all the rest of the bedrooms. You can see they are all on this side, but then there's a bridge that crosses over the driveway and goes into a very big master suite. I think I love this. Besides all these bedrooms that are here and that are self-contained, this should be my favorite spot. Okay, this is what really gives the joy when you're doing a project and you find this. That's one thing that you really cling on to and say this is the best aspect of this project. Okay, yes, now we can go down to number 7. Okay, we have this beautiful 6-bedroom mansion. Okay, this is basically all the 6 bedrooms are actually self-contained, and also this house has one living room, it has a dining, of course it has a kitchen. Those are like the most obvious things literally in the house. And of course it has this beautiful foyer that enters the house, so that you don't have to pass through the living room to actually enter the house. Which is quite a concept that has lived for many years. Okay, and as you can see, the compromise of that, because it's seated on a 14 decimal plot, you can see that the space at the front has been compromised as well as the space on the sides. But based on how you've how we've described the house and how many bedrooms and all that it has, it can actually be worth it depending on what the user actually wants for the house. Okay, like we always say, and like you always know, design is highly subjective. What works for you doesn't exactly work for another. Okay, people prefer one thing over another. Of course, as you can see, if I scroll further down, you can see that the house is looking really beautiful. And also I want to tell you some interesting fact about this house. This house has literally gone through a series of different exterior designs and exterior modifications. As you can see on my screen, if I could just show you, this was literally the first way it was designed to look like. You can see the roof is black. Okay, and the house is basically moving within shades of gray. Okay, but if we go to this other one, okay, let me just use this one. Okay, you can see in this one we actually changed the colors of the house, and also we changed it to actual roof tiles at the top of the house, and you can see the design is literally still the same. Then the very final one, keeping the plan almost the same and just modifying a very few things. Okay, you can see that this is what it actually turned out to look like. So the pillars this time are much bigger. There's this big mold that runs all around the slab, making the house look really beautiful. The pillars are huge. For those who have followed this channel for quite some time, you know that because the pillar is huge doesn't mean it should cost you a lot of money. There's a way we play during construction that only the structure element carries the steel bars on the concrete, and the rest will literally be block work. Okay, but it still brings out that beauty to make the house look massive and expensive. Okay, yeah, I think you guys have had to enjoy this house. I love it personally. I love how the big pillars are coming through. I like how everything is basically coming all together. And if you think the previous design was better, you can also comment down below and let us know which one you think would actually work for you. So at number 6, we also have this beautiful 9-bedroom house. Wow, this is actually sitting on 25 decimals. You realize that for number 7 and also number 6, they are basically massive houses, but they are seated on small pieces of land. Of course, as you can see, this plot is not so regular, and of course when you look at it from the top plan, you might think this is too close to this, but of course there's a distance of about 3 meters to the boys' quarter at the back of the house. Okay, so if I'm to scroll down, I realize that this is quite a massive house. Massive. Okay, as you can see, there are these big tall doors that come all the way from the ground floor to the first floor. There are also these castle windows that pop out of the roof that give it that ancient kind of feel, that Roman kind of feel. And as you can see, basically I personally love this house. I love the balconies all around the house. I like how some parts of the roof are playing with each other. There's a roof on the ground floor, some parts are roofed on the first floor and things like that. Okay, yeah, like I've always been doing, one of my favorite spots actually on this house is this little compound that is here. Even when you try to fit something huge on a small space, at least there's an allowance that you can actually have a small space in the compound and have a place where to host a few friends here and there, and also space that you can later on expand into parking area if need be. Okay, yes. So tell me guys, what do you think about this house? Let me know down in the comments, and also let us know how we could have done different on this house specifically. Of course, that might be difficult on your side because you were not there when the discussions with the person who intends to live in the house was actually, when the discussions with that person were actually going on. But of course, you have the right to say what you think would have been different on the house. Ladies and gentlemen, at number 5 we have this beautiful apartment that is actually already under construction in Mbarara city. Okay, as you can see, it's quite a beautiful apartment, very minimalist. There's not too much going on, everything is right where it should be. Okay, yes, it's seated on a piece of land that is measuring about 38 meters by about 25 meters, something of that sort. I don't have the exact figures offhand, but as you can see, this is really maximum use of space. As you can see, on this side we have a 2-bedroom apartment, we have a 2-bedroom apartment here, and on this side we have a single bedroom apartment. I love how the balconies are well put together. Of course, on this side we have master bedrooms. As you can see, there are smaller balconies, and then on this side we have the living room, we have the main entrance into the apartment. Of course, this apartment is identical to this one, but this one is different. Okay, yeah. And then they also, when you look at how the parking is arranged, it is arranged in such a way that every apartment is entitled to one parking slot, and of course there's also a free parking slot for guests and all that. Of course, in the ideal sense it would have been more parking, but as you can see, there's always a debate, there's always a fight between value for money in terms of how much or how many apartments you can put in the place, and also how much you can actually get from there. Okay, you might choose to have more apartments and less parking, or you might choose to have more parking and less apartments. That really heavily depends on the developer, but the most important thing is to basically study your area, study your apartments, and also see if people in that area really drive a lot of cars, or a lot of people don't really drive cars. That's also an important thing to consider. But all that said, you can see the apartment is really beautifully placed on the piece of land. Most of these lands are not exactly regular. I wish I could show you the plan, but I'm not allowed to, for obvious reasons. If we did for your design, you don't want the plan moving all around, everyone seeing it and copying it and building it in their different locations. Okay, yeah, so I think you guys have loved it. Now we can go down to number 4. Okay, so at number 4 we also have this beautiful apartment. This is actually quite massive. If you have to look very carefully, we have 2 sets of 2-bedroom houses. There's a stair here that these people are using to access the apartment. So there is this and there is that, using this staircase. Then there is also this other staircase that is being used to access by people on this apartment and on this apartment. So when you consider that, you'll find that we have actually 12 apartments, each having 2 bedrooms. Of course, when I say 2 bedrooms, I mean with obviously a living room, with obviously a dining, with obviously a kitchen, with obviously a pantry, with obviously a laundry, with obviously a back balcony. That's a rear balcony, a balcony at the back that goes through either the kitchen or through the dining. Okay, so as you can see, this is quite simple. This is one of the simplest, I think, projects that we've done most recently. Very simple, not a lot of complexities, and of course we've gone around it in several different areas. If I were to share with you the other renders, this is the back of the project, and then also to show you again the front, it's really as simple as possible. Anyone who has technical knowledge in interpreting plans and all that can be able to put up this properly, as long as the structural integrity is not compromised. Okay, yes, basically each bedroom has, each house has the bedrooms like we've described. Okay, and then the parking is also well arranged. As you can see, this land also is part of the whole property, but it's just being reserved for any future developments. But as you can see, the parking should be enough. If it needs to be expanded, there is still space to expand that parking into. At number 3 we have this beautiful 4-bedroom house. Now you can, if you are already keen, you can realize that this house is just full of balconies at the front. But of course, this one is the balcony for the master bedroom, having a bigger view or a wider view with a 270 degrees view. And if you can see, the obvious reason, or the most obvious reason why this building is actually having balconies all around, is because you can see how the terrain is. If you're careful to look at the compound, you see there's a lot of steps, there's another retaining wall, there's another compound here on the lower side, like I'm going to show you in a few. But it consists of four bedrooms, and the master is self-contained. I think the guest bedroom also is self-contained, and also there are 2 other bedrooms that are actually sharing a bathroom. Of course, one of my favorite spots is the terrace, but we're going to come to the terrace in a few. For now, let's just talk about the compound and the utilization of space. Let me get a better view. As you can see, there are a lot of retaining walls here. There's of course another guest wing here, guest wing that is going to be used for commercial purposes, where if you have short-term guests or short-term visitors, they can still come around and stay here. These, I think, are about 1, 2, 3, 4 units of guest houses, so you can make money while you sleep. Okay, when you have guests around, the views are good, because you can see the terrain of this land is quite serious. That's why you see there's a lot of steps here and there, and then the parking is on this lower side. If I were to get a better view of the parking, as you can see right here, this is the parking. There are different ways we've actually been able to play with the terrain to make sure that it's functional, and also buildings can be stable on still that type of terrain. And you can see the parking is really just here right at the entrance. There's not a lot of moving around in the plot to find how cars are going to park or reverse in and out. Very functional. Of course, there's also another compound that is on the lower side here that you can come and have a seat and do your barbecue or host your guests from around this area and things of that sort. So like I said, my favorite spot is this terrace here. The views are really good. If you have views, never take for granted having a terrace on top of your house. Of course, it increases the costs during both design and also in construction, and also even approval for plans, but at the end of the day, it's really worth it. At number 2, we have this beautiful apartment that is seated on a 100 by 100 feet plot of land. So here we have 100 feet, here we also have 100 feet, but the plot is a bit twisted, so that means the edges are not exactly at right angles. They are at about, let's say, 110 degrees at the corners here, but that does not stop you from, of course, having something very beautiful. Like you can see, if I take you all the way this side, you can see the apartment is very beautiful and functional. Here we have a 2-bedroom apartment, and here we also have a 2-bedroom apartment. Here we have a 2-bedroom apartment, and right in the corner there we actually have a single bedroom apartment. Yeah, that is what they call maximum use of space. There's literally space left for just the septic tank and the parking, and period. The rest of it is utilized, of course, with space all around. If you're to see, there's green all around the apartment, so that you can have that fresh air and that fresh feeling that comes with having trees around the building. Yes, okay, as you can see, this is very beautiful. Very beautiful. Now, if you to also notice, there's of course that staircase that leads to that elevated point, just like this is elevated as well. This balcony is for the living rooms. These bedrooms do not have balconies. Okay, here it's only the living room that literally has a balcony, and also of course there's a balcony at the back. If I were to show you at the back, there's a balcony right here and a balcony right here. All those belong to the kitchen. Okay, very functional, very beautiful. Tell me if you guys like this. And of course, one other thing is that you can see the parking is really functional. This is going to be angle parking. This apartment is actually going to be built in a place called Wayali, if some of you know it. Yeah, we have about 1, 2, 3, 4 by 2. That's about 8 parking slots, which is, I think, really decent. Okay, and finally, at now, as you can see here, they are basically studios. Each of them is self-contained with a screen in them, with a balcony as well, and also basically that's it. They're just quite spacious and all that, basically for guests. It's designed for the Sudanese market. It's going to be built in Sudan, We are still finalizing with the drawings, but I think it's a beautiful thing to show you guys. So you can see it at the front of it. Of course, we have shops on the ground floor, and then also we have more parking on the inside. If you can see, it's quite a modern, beautiful design, very simple and yet sophisticated, if both words can fit in the same sentence. Yeah, but as you can see, it looks quite beautiful, very functional. Yeah. On this side, of course, there is a restaurant, okay, that has two floors. There's a ground floor, which I think has a bar, and then the first floor that has actually a restaurant. Okay, as you can see, very beautiful. It has also outside toilets on the back side. Very beautiful, very functional, very livable space. Okay, yes, I think it's a very beautiful thing. And also, like I would always do on all these things, my favorite spot on this very building is just how beautifully this roadside thing has been blended in. You know, sometimes when you're doing a structure that's along the road, you literally want to take advantage of any extra income that you can get, and also to provide extra services for the guests who are living by. Okay, so as you can see, there are open shops here that can be used as banks, as saloons, as pharmacies, and things like that. Okay, yeah, thank you very much guys for watching. Yes, definitely.